mighty OD.
Dead breeze, we rap this shit. Where they pull them weapons quick and snitches be the death of it.
OD.
Do you hear them? Here they come. Liquors balling out the slums. Here to tell you where I'm from.
Mighty OD.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Brock Brown, the OD TV. We are talking boxing yet again. Oh man, like I said, I sit back, I watch how things unfold a little bit. I read a couple articles, I watch a couple YouTube videos. You know, I try to hear what the gossip is, what the information is. I watched the fight a couple times, and I'm not gonna make this a long video. I'm just going to point out the obvious yet again, and I'm going to keep it moving. I'm going to go on and talk about something else after that. Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. This is what I'm going to tell y'all as the ODTV boxing spokesperson. Y'all gotta get y'all emotions out y'all ass. Seriously. I know that y'all like people based on different characteristics. I know that regionality or the region of America you come from means something. I know that everybody loves money. I understand that. I know that people like bravado and some people like the gift of gab and people who can talk the talk. But can we just be real about this? Because I'm going to pose something to y'all in the boxing world. If we start as a boxing culture to start and keep it real with the fighters. I know there's people who get interviews and stuff like that that would never do that in a boxer's face. I know that. I'm aware of that, but that's not the point. The fans who never speak to a fighter except for when you go to a fighter and you cheering them on and they just happen to look your way that one fight. I'm talking about the fans, the people who pay the money for the pay-per-view. We need to hold boxers to a higher accountability because it's so sad with the tactics that they use that we are starting to see the same tricks come out the same toolboxes over and over again. And Errol Spence is no different. Errol Spence is using the same tactics that Deontay Wilder used to duck Anthony Joshua. I know we are not going to sit here and act like this is not the same Al Haymon, I don't want to fight you playing. By now, everybody has seen the video where Errol Spence explicitly told Terrence Crawford that he was not in Al Haymon's plan. He specifically told him that he was going to go and get 2 paydays for Al Haymon by having 2 Al Haymon fighters fight. He named multiple Al Haymon fighters that he was going to fight. And it's so far, it has happened. He even said, if you really listen to what he said Mikey Garcia, Danny, Sean Porter, Manny Pacquiao. I'm just saying, y'all, listen. And what has he been doing? Begging Manny Pacquiao this whole time, right? Got into the ring with Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, he don't speak that English then. Because you can't force Manny or Canelo into a fight. You can't do it. There's nobody big enough that can force them into a fight except for like Floyd Mayweather or each other. So what I'm trying to explain to y'all is real simple. This is real simple. This is not a hard thing to understand. Errol Spence is avoiding Terrence Crawford by any means. We all know that Terrence Crawford don't make the most money. But again, I never come to y'all with that money shit. Unless it was like that Wilder $100 million shit. We had to talk about money then. We had to talk about money then. We had to. Because what he did was crazy. But with this Errol Spence thing, this is not about money. But Errol Spence just tried to use money to avoid him. After he said he don't know who he was going to fight next, he just wanted to go home and buy some livestock and chill on his farm with his family. Because he know he have nowhere to go. He know he has nowhere to go if Keith Thurman don't want to fight him. Because it's not the same with Manny Pacquiao, but Manny Pacquiao picks who he fights. So he can't just go fight Manny Pacquiao. He can't do that. He already been to Kell Brook. He already been to Danny Garcia. He already been to Sean Porter. He even went to Mikey Garcia. Where can Errol Spence go? Where can Errol Spence go? Errol Spence got 3 options. And the 4th option is a possibility. The most probable option is Keith Thurman, but that raises so many problems. A, Keith has to want to fight. That's first and foremost. Keith has to want to fight, or it cannot happen. If Keith don't want to fight Errol, there's nothing Errol can do. He can't make Keith fight him. He just can't do it. B, the money is going to become a problem. Because the way they play at the PBC with the money, Keith got a Manny Pacquiao fight under his belt. Now, I don't know the numbers from Pacquiao Thurman. I have no clue what they were. But I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, and I don't know the numbers from Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, but I believe that Errol had a pretty successful pay-per-view or a decent one in this climate with Mikey Garcia. So ever since that fight, Errol said he a pay-per-view star. You know what I mean? I'm the big dog. I'm the A side. It seemed like ever since that fight. Now, it will do Terrence Crawford no favors if that Danny Garcia fight has good numbers. It will do him no favors. And Terrence Crawford is 100% correct. If he wants to talk 60-40, I'll move on. Because that's not even in the realm of reality. And he knows that, is what I'm telling y'all. What y'all know that. Errol Spence knows 60-40 ain't going to happen. Just like when you take big numbers. Like imagine if somebody told Canelo or Manny Pacquiao 50-50 or no fight. They don't do that with them. So how could Wilder do it with AJ? Because he didn't want to fight. It's the same thing here with Errol Spence. It's the same exact thing. Errol Spence don't want that fight. Why is Terrence Crawford here? That was the biggest thing that was the nail in the coffin. These boxing channels can act like it's still hope. These boxing channels can act like Bob Arum and Al Haymon is having a dick measuring contest and that's the hold up. It ain't got nothing to do with that. It got to do with the same thing when Bob Arum said, a person who I personally don't believe half the shit Bob say. But I definitely believe him when he says Terrence Crawford, Manny Pacquiao didn't want that fight for years. I believe that. Because y'all have to understand something. It's the threat. What do I mean by the threat? Every fighter you fight poses a different threat. Some fighters are clearly better than other fighters. Facts. We all agree there. But every fighter you fight holds a different threat. Some guys are threat level yellow. Some guys are threat yellow orange. Some guys are threat level red. And that's what I'm explaining to you. Styles make fights. And depending on your style, here at the OD, how do we judge boxing? How do we judge boxing? How can you win? That's all. That's the only way we judge fighters. How can you win? That's the biggest thing for us. Look at Errol Spence and look at Terrence Crawford. On paper, that fight says that Errol Spence has to knock Terrence Crawford out or knock Terrence Crawford down. Because Terrence Crawford will outbox him in most rounds. That's what the analytics of boxing says. So if Terrence Crawford believes in his mind, Bud Crawford is a better technical fighter than me. If he believes that in his mind, then Errol has to rely on his power in that fight, or he has to come up with a strategy based off of what Bud Crawford is not good at, or based off of what Bud Crawford is going to try and do. Those are 2 tough eggs to crack. And you know what? They're not as hard to crack as what Sean Porter might do or what Sean Porter's not good at. They're not as hard to crack as what Danny Garcia does not do or is not good at or what he's going to try to do. See, it's strategic. The whole thing is strategic. There's a plan in place to build Errol up as a star. Now, you can tell it's working because people for the last few years have been asking for Errol to jump in there with the big guys. And see, Errol has done just enough. He's done what was in his handler's best interest. He's done exactly what the company needed him to do. There was going to be a gauntlet anyway. Because they have to know which one of those guys at middleweight is going to rise. At welterweight is going to rise to the top. They have to know. The unforeseen event was Bud Crawford tossing his hat in the ring because there was no competition where he was at. That was the unknown. So when Bud Crawford comes up, now that throws a monkey wrench in everything. Where Al Haymon was slipping and you could tell he didn't see it coming was because Jeff Horn had a belt. Nobody thought he was going to beat Manny Pacquiao. Nobody believed that. So Terrence Crawford, in a Canelo Alvarez-esque move, went up and fought a bigger, taller fighter who at the time everybody knew was on borrowed time because he was the most acceptable fighter with a title in the division. He was the easiest win. So Terrence Crawford got that belt. Errol Spence put his foot in his mouth by saying, go get a belt and then we'll talk. He got a belt. So now what I want to show y'all is something that cannot be denied. Unless you are in that catbird seat, that Floyd Mayweather Canelo Alvarez position, unless you are in that catbird seat. And for heavyweights, there is no excuse. This excuse does not exist for heavyweights. It does not exist for heavyweights because heavyweights don't jump weights. But for everybody else, there's a built-in excuse if you can make it to, if you're good enough and you're great enough and your legend grows enough for you to make it to that catbird Floyd Mayweather seat. You get to pick who you fight based off of their name and their value. Boxing has made that okay. They can't bitch about it now because they made it okay. They paid for the people who was in that catbird seat, and now whoever's in it is the highest grossing fighter in boxing. And they pretty much write their own ticket. That's not the case with Errol Spence, y'all. Don't let Errol Spence pipe y'all up because on the business side of things, his promotion, the money put behind him, his pay-per-view numbers, his opponents has been better than Bud Crawford's at 147. There's nothing he can do about that if all the fighters that are big names outside of Manny Pacquiao and the people who he didn't already put hands on work for Al Haymon. Al Haymon won't let any of them play. So with Sean Porter, what we are seeing is either Sean Porter don't want to activate the mandatory clause because he don't want to fight, or Al Haymon is telling him not to. There is one of two. There's only two options here. Sean Porter could be fighting next for a belt. We all know that. Sean Porter could be fighting next for a belt. We all know that. But the clause hasn't been activated yet. I'm telling y'all, there's only one or two reasons. Either Sean don't want to fight, and I don't believe that's who Sean is. Let me say that. I personally believe in the dog that Sean is. I believe he'll go in there and fight. He has nothing else to lose. He has no title. If he beats Bud Crawford, he's back in the motherfucking driver's seat. He's right behind Errol Spence if he beats Bud Crawford. So him not activating that clause speaks volumes, and I continue to wait. I wait for these things because I don't want this to happen. Then the next day they do it. But if it doesn't happen in X amount of days, then you know what? I'm going to speak on it. So why isn't Sean Porter doing that? Why isn't Keith Thurman an option? Why isn't Danny Garcia, who has lost to every top fighter at 147, why isn't he banging down the door to get another title shot? Because Bud Crawford can't fight anybody Errol Spence fought at the PBC. Don't y'all get that? If Bud Crawford fights them and he beats them worse than Errol Spence did, we know how the casual fan thinks. So again, I personally believe Al Haymon is not allowing none of those guys to fight Terrence Crawford. That's what I personally believe. If you think I'm bullshitting, if you think I'm just talking, I'm just spitting smoke, look what he did to Kell Brook. Okay, Errol Spence fucked his eye up. How long did it take Errol Spence to accomplish that? When did he stop him? When did Bud stop him? Who looked better in the fight? Did Kell Brook look better against Errol Spence, or did he look better against Terrence Crawford? Where's Errol Spence going to go next? Amir Khan? Can't do that. Can't do that. Nobody will respect that. That's levels above where his last few fights were. See, Errol Spence stuck, and that's what happened when you play games. You get stuck. You have nowhere to go. You get caught up. So now they got to alter the plan. They got to figure this out. But listen, y'all, just remember, the PBC put that picture up with Bud Crawford and Errol Spence. The PBC put that picture up. I don't ever want y'all to forget that. So when y'all don't get the fight, just remember who was the first ones promoting the fight outside of the YouTube boxing community. Just remember who the first ones promoting the fight was. The first ones who put it out there, who tried to use it. Just remember that. They will use a lie to make money. Because remember, Errol Spence asked Terrence Crawford, why are you here? Remember, when they was face to face, they could talk and they could laugh and they could joke. But Al ain't say nothing about this man. Yeah, EJ is his own promoter. But Al said I might fight. Remember, let's go off of what Errol Spence said. Al said I might fight. Just remember that. Just remember that. That's all I'm going to say to y'all, man. Don't let that boy play y'all. Errol Spence is a good fighter. Errol Spence could be a great fighter if he fights everybody at 147 who is somebody. You can't freeze people out and claim you the best, bro. You not in that position. Y'all can't be the Floyd Mayweather of 147. Y'all can't be the Canelo of 147. No, bro, that shit is everywhere. Them dudes jump from division to division and make bank. And like I said, the worst thing that can happen for Terrence Crawford is if Errol Spence get a Manny Pacquiao fight or Canelo Alvarez fight. Because yeah, that's great for Errol Spence in the PBC, but that's not really great for the 147. You know? So I would like to see Manny fight Terrence if Terrence and Errol can't come to an agreement and they can't fight. That's all. You know what I'm saying? I just think fair is fair. We see what Errol Spence is trying to do. We see the game he's playing. We've seen it before. So, I mean, I think as the fans, we should put the pressure on Errol. We shouldn't fanboy for Errol. We should put the pressure on him. You're talking about two Black American champions. Don't kick that Black American shit to me. I don't care nothing about it. I don't care nothing about it. You're talking about two people from the same motherfucking country. I don't want to hear that shit. No, none of that stuff plays a part in this. So why would you fanboy for Errol Spence and allow him to get away with that bullshit that he trying to pull? 60-40 or no fight. Come on, y'all. Let's not do that, man. Let's not do that. Let's not allow the fuckery and the nonsense. There's no need for that. We deserve that fight. Boxing deserves that fight. And Errol Spence should be forced to give us that fight. Brock Brown, the ODTV. Boxing. Peace.